Hi, and welcome to What Global. We love having you here, and it is our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest in tips, skills, and know how in the compliance and ethic industry to make you the best that you can be, both personally and professionally. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we can help to get you there. I am your host today, Gina Green. Now let's get started. Today we have with us DJ, also known professionally as DeJaris Richardson. DJ currently works for Amatec Dynamic Fluid Solutions, where she is a senior product compliance and agency manager. Prior to Amatec, DJ was the regulatory compliance leader and supply chain for Westinghouse Electric, where they design and manufacture nuclear power plants for China and India. DJ's expertise is in plastics engineering and regulatory compliance for hazardous chemicals and global environmental regulations for a range of products. She holds a BS degree in chemical engineering from RPI and a Master's of Law degree from the Cleveland Marshall College of Law. She's also a member of the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and holds that CCEP certification. DJ, we welcome you to Wex Podcast. It's a
Hi.
pleasure to have you today.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for being here. So, DJ, one of the things that we were talking about, you and I, was that there's so much that happened during the year of 2022. So now we're here in January 23, and we want to just take a look back, see some things that we recognize we may have missed. We look back into the 2022 headlines, and there was a lot of different buzzing stories that had our attention of compliance professionals. So
They sure were.
we can take a few minutes today and just recall some of the more significant compliance regulations or maybe global sanctions or even some of the enforcements that were put into practice during 2022. So when I look back, what were some of the things that caught your
Definitely, Gina.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Gina, if I had 5 stories in 60 seconds, I could do that quickly. And the first story would be the war on Ukraine that started in February. And every compliance professional knows what you used to do. Somehow you needed to do a little bit more.
Yes.
When that war started, we see the fallout from affecting the financial markets, supply chain, the second and third party supply chain disruption, shortage of materials, labor, agriculture. The engineered technologies were affected, as we see with products. Now, this year, the war continues. We see a shortage of gold, tin. We have the regulation of the Minerals Initiative, which is a global initiative from the OECD. And there's also the Minerals Initiative in Asia. And we see now Russia has about over 10 gold smelters where corporations want to take action and not to use those. We also have gold smelters and other smelters for minerals in Ukraine. And we see industry speaking up, trying to be proactive and to shape these existing regulations.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the material shortages are really noticeable, especially with products. You were talking about the chips and the cars.
Yeah, right.
A lot
Let's
of products.
just share. Yeah, well, I don't mind sharing that with our audience today because we were talking about this earlier this afternoon, where the significant factor of supply chain issues has affected every industry you can think of. When we talk about the automobile industry here in the United States, we have several thousands upon thousands of cars sitting here, models of 2020 year, models 2021 year, models 2022 year, that are brand new cars sitting and waiting for chips electronic chips to be placed in these
Yes,
cars
yes.
due to the supply chain. And then when you think about like even the housing market, many people who tried to buy new construction
Hmm.
housing may have started the project with a promised date of a 6 month home delivery. That date has been pushed back and pushed off, and many
Hmm.
homes have not been able to have completion, at least not to the original standards and
That's right.
customizations that they were promised in
Yes.
the beginning. Again, all because of what happened in 2022. And not to mention, last but definitely not least, is the food supply. Food supply chain has considerably been
Yes.
broken for quite some time. Even before 2022, we
Hmm.
used to hear of food deserts, and it affected our environments because a lot of the places that used to have farming and places for food growth were taken away. So there was already a shortage in the
Hmm.
environmental areas, but now it's just really have been intensified. So I would agree when we were talking
Yes.
earlier, I think that the supply chain, it's the management, it's been broken now, and it really has changed things even going forward.
Yes, supply chain is forever changed. The just in time,
Mm-hmm.
the mantra of that means something else now.
Hmm.
Being single sourced is
Ah,
looked at upon as a new light. You have many US companies trying to manufacture products and remove the manufacturing out of China. Some are going to India, some are going
mm-hmm.
to the US. Geography is a single pencil point, and it
Right.
really doesn't matter anymore. So we will see solutions and challenges and opportunities implemented
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
year.
And you know, one thing, DJ, that comes to mind when we're talking about this particular point of reference is that as compliance officers, we need to be mindful that because there's such a hiccup in the supply chain, many times where things were being resourced from could have changed to a
Mm-hmm.
country that may be near a newly sanctioned country. So we have to be on the lookout and not just be so fast to just approve invoices and move on. So, DJ, let's just change for a second. What about materials? You kind of talked about technology in the beginning when we first talked about. So, what
Yes.
materials used in technology that you notice have been affected, or what were they talking about in 2022?
We can start with the conflict minerals with the
Mm,
Frank Dodd Act in U.S.
okay.
and the Republic of the Congo. We have tin,
Mm-hmm.
tungsten, tantalum, and gold.
Mm,
And you could add cobalt and several others.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are shortages, and they cannot be re-engineered out of products.
Wow. Very interesting. You don't realize it
Yes.
until you stop and think,
Right,
seriously.
until you don't have it anymore. Right.
Yes.
Yes. Or the supply chain of it is threatened. So yes,
Absolutely
yes,
true. Yeah. So let's move on to another
yes,
hot topic. The EU. We will take a moment and let's talk about that. We've been hearing a lot about the GDPR. We've been
yes,
hearing a lot about cybersecurity. I mean, that's a daily conversation. Antitrust breaches are always in
yes.
the news. Anything that you're familiar with you want to share with us in those areas, DJ?
Well, Uber would
Mm,
probably be the top story
okay.
because the prosecutor, Joe Sullivan,
Mhm.
who prosecuted the Uber case a couple of years ago, now he's been sentenced a prison term for 8 years in the US
Wow.
for his part in covering up the non-compliance of Uber, which is antitrust and data breaches.
Mm.
And this is the first time where a compliance professional has been individually singled out and indicted for their role in a compliance enforcement case.
That's a
So,
harsh penalty, eight
compliance,
years. Mm-hmm.
yes, compliance professionals need to sit up and take notice with this. This
Mm-hmm.
is the first time. Um, you have the EU has acted upon Amazon, and Amazon has settled their antitrust case. That would be the second runner-up. Amazon had limited the ability of their third-party sellers who sell in their big box in
Mm,
their platform. And so now these third-party sellers were complaining they couldn't compete in the marketplace. And just because they sold the products through Amazon, now they have an unfair playing field. And the premise of antitrust is fair competition. So Europe really placed sanctions against them, and Amazon did settle.
hmm.
So they are making a way to do better and to provide competition and a platform for their third party sellers. Amazon in Europe was very popular and well used in France and Germany.
Hmm.
And of course, this affects big data. There are other cases with Meta, Apple, and their apps, and you have Google. So, with the Digital Marks Act in the EU, which will be enforced in 2024, we will see this year how big data plays out with Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's interesting about that for me too, DJ, is that when we think about different areas and different locations, what's ringing in my mind is about cybersecurity, how in some countries, especially I could even say here in the United States, we're a little bit slow when we're reporting data breaches. We're a little bit slow. Some countries are taking a little bit more
Yes,
of advanced forward fashion in that. But the risks that are involved with data breaches this past year in 2022 have been astronomical. So this is an area where we really need to tighten our
yes,
resources. We really need to take that extra. Unfortunately, compliance in a whole, a lot of times for companies are treated as a stepchild or a step nephew or a distant relative. They don't really want to pay the money for resources and for the right support, right? Like the
yes.
companies tighten the belt when it comes
That's
to
right. As
compliance.
compliance professionals, yeah, sometimes we feel like the stepchild or you know, we spend a lot of money, but we do not generate any income.
Right.
However, we offer the protection and the good feeling of insurance that
Absolutely.
your reputation will remain good and fair.
Absolutely. And that's
And once
so
it's
important.
tarnished, that's it. It's hard to get the
Right.
trust of the public, as we see with these data breaches
Right.
and the unfair competition, with the iPhone app, and this is a global problem.
Right. And I'm hoping, like you mentioned, with sharing with us that particular incident of an 8-year prison sentence. It's pretty lengthy. That's serious time there. So maybe it's time for some of the powers within these corporations to wake up and realize that you are on limited time. By the time 2024 comes through, there's going to be even heavier penalties, perhaps facing them for such wrongdoing and such
Yes, yes,
items as we've seen. So it seems like though we are
yes,
always seeing Apple, Google, and the metaverse in the news. What are your thoughts about that?
yes.
They popped up a lot, and like in China particularly. What do you think happens there? If you want to
Well, in
share?
China, they have their own case of Alibaba,
Ah,
the big commerce platform, which
yes,
had several antitrust and
yes.
unfair competition, and they were, singled out. You also had cryptocurrency
Mm-hmm.
heist and the implications of, several countries being involved there. And then we
Mm-hmm.
have China with TikTok, which is
Mm-hmm.
rolling into, this year. So between antitrust, cybersecurity, and data and privacy regulations that are violated, or if the regulation stands, but now because commerce has changed, is now viewed as unfair. The public, the global public, and product users everywhere now have a voice. I think because
Mm-hmm.
of Europe,
Mm-hmm.
now they have a voice. Europe is leading the way as being the big data, and the
Yeah.
tech companies, they're going to set them straight.
Absolutely. I would agree with you
Yes.
100%. The EU is
Yes.
definitely using the GDPR regulations
Hmm.
to lead that fight. And I love seeing that. But now we've
Yes.
spent a little bit around the world. Let's just go back over to where we are in the USA.
Oh, the
USA.
U.S. is quiet. We have well, the US said, okay, we're going to we have a new deputy attorney,
Ah,
Attorney
that's
General
right.
Lisa Monaco,
That's
and
right.
she came
CMJ.
out with another instance of the 7 principles of compliance
Mm,
program, and she said it must be well designed, and you must have adequate paperwork and proof of audits and effective communication, and do what you say and practice what you preach in
yes.
your compliance program.
And you can't say it's new because we have been talking about this for a while
Yes,
now.
we have.
That, yes,
Yes.
the hammer was coming down. So again,
Yes.
I'm sending out an admonishment for corporations and for compliance officers to take a look at their programs and see what needs to be brought up to speed.
Definitely. You can always improve.
Hmm.
Always. It can't be too perfect,
Right.
especially when the climate and the markets and supply chain is changing. With technology companies, you have material shortages, material issues, and supply chain issues. So corporate compliance and ethics has really changed because of the war. And it just
Absolutely.
sort of it just keeps changing, and professionals are evolving in their management styles. And compliance is more important now because depending on the industry you're in, um, Europe could come knocking at your door, and any country can knock at your door at this point to say that you violated privacy laws or compliance laws in their country.
Absolutely. And that
So
brings me
that's
to
really
think about,
different. Yes.
that makes me to think about ESG. Right away
Yes.
in the United
Yes.
States, again, we had an issue that was quite pivotal with the Roe versus Wade uh, act that was
Mm-hmm.
returned in America. The whole abortion
Yes.
rights, and
Yes.
that was significant because a lot of
Yes.
companies are now looking at that ESG, especially that social component within their
Mm-hmm.
organizations and seeing what are they supporting or what are they
That's
not
right.
supporting. So there was really a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things. I mean, we could
Right.
perhaps sit and chat for hours more about some of the things that we saw in 2022. And I thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your insight, your research on 2022, DJ, as we both go into
Well, thank you. And
2023.
I invite my compliance professionals to come and talk about cybersecurity and
Yes,
data privacy, because that's a long story for this year in
absolutely.
2023.
Absolutely. You are
Yes.
definitely correct in that. And the invitation, yes, is widely open. We definitely appreciate that
Yes.
reminder. Yeah. So I guess we're about to wrap up today's session. Anything else, DJ, you want to close us with or want to share?
Well, you can always say that ethics is a learned practice, based on policies and procedures.
Hmm.
And compliance professionals really have to stay on the mark and have an open mind. There's always 2 sides of the story. And we have to protect the integrity and reputations of the businesses and companies and people that we represent.
Very true. Nicely said.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
DJ, for those words today.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Talk to you later, Gina.
Sounds good. We invite you all to subscribe, hit the button below, subscribe and share, please, and open your networks. Please follow us if you can over at our website. It's www.wec, global.org. We look forward to another meeting with you guys and see you soon. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.